Well, I appreciate all the community members for being here today. We are just so passionate about small business. And every week we try to invite somebody to the small business group community meetups that's going to offer some background to their story and insights into what they see, how people are evolving, adapting, and just create an environment of dialogue, right? Where we can enable and empower each other to just chase after the entrepreneurial dream. And I am excited because every week we get to do these. We're going to have everybody that's on the call introduce themselves this week. And I'll go ahead and start, Akeisha, and then we'll have you introduce yourself afterwards because you are our guest speaker and it's going to be a fantastic meetup today. So I'm excited about it. My name's Adam Griggs. I am the co-founder of CLARAfi and I am your moderator today. And I will turn it over to Rachel and Jonathan.
Good morning, good afternoon for wherever you're at. I'm Rachel McCool from GoDaddy. And my role with GoDaddy is to work with all of you wonderful small business people and hopefully bring some great experiences for you to learn more, to share and network and grow your businesses. So excited to be here and excited to hear from Akeisha today.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. My name is Jonathan. Just a quick introduction. My name is Jonathan, and I'm on the GoDaddy team as well. I work on the social media team. So everything from building engagement strategies to figuring out how we want to talk to people on GoDaddy Social. And I'm the little voice of our LinkedIn channel. So I'm the one commenting about how excited I am. And I really am. I'm so grateful that you're here chatting with us today in our community. And I really am looking forward. And Julie, I'm so sorry I missed yours last week, but I'm really, really excited to hear from you, Akeisha. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get the correct cue, Jonathan.
No problem. We're all excited to be here.
Thank you for having me. It's funny, I'm really honored to be here. When I think about GoDaddy, I think about the last times I called customer service, and both of the people I spoke to were so amazing and so helpful. It just has me excited to be able to have this conversation with you all and with your community. So hello, everyone. My name is Akeisha Johnson. I'm a business leadership coach, and a lot of times people don't know what that means. Said simply, I empower business leaders to be the kind of bosses other people enjoy working for. So I am really committed to really transforming the workplace. So it's an environment where people are acknowledged and are being able to express their full potential and their full creativity. I also facilitate a forum workshop called Safe Star, which stands for a safe space to talk about race, so that we can have empowered conversations around race and racism. And I'm really happy to be here with you today.
And we are so excited to hear from you today. Akeisha, before we get going, I want to introduce the 3 community members that are here today as well, so that you know who's here and committing to be here to support you, and vice versa, so that they know they're committed to as part of the dialogue in the community. So Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then Julie, and then Chris?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Alexander with Ajn Financial. I'm a personal finance instructor, and I help people live a better financial life. So I help people with credit scores, building their savings, and paying off debt from real personable space of experience, and not just about textbooks, facts, and figures, because you really want to know what you should do, how you should do it, when you should do it, and not just create a budget.
Good morning. It's great to see all of you. So excited to be here. I love this. This is my favorite part of my Thursday. I'm getting to connect. I'm so excited to hear a story. I started Stick and Stack. We sell eco-friendly patch sticks, which is a hybrid between a sticker and a patch, rooted in community, with the idea of uplifting women, making a difference. We talked a little bit about last time about small waves and big waves, and have already from this group have made so many amazing connections with other people who are interested in doing the same thing. So grateful to be here and grateful to hear about your story, and especially Safe Star. I'm actually really, really curious about that in the workplace. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. We appreciate you for being here. And if you guys haven't watched her meetup, definitely go back and watch that, because it was just so empowering about how she's leading through community and building her business around that. Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Castanis. I'm with Surf Financial Brokers. We are a virtual insurance agency. We have our website set up to where people can just go online, and if they don't want to deal with a salesperson, they can get life insurance and cancer plans and dental and things like that. And if they do want to call us and need some help, they just drop us a note and we'll set up a phone appointment. I'm licensed in 5 states, so it's kind of difficult when you're marketing out on the internet because the internet doesn't stop at those 5 states. So it's interesting, but we're learning. It's a learning curve, but I'm glad to be here and looking forward to hearing what we're going to hear today. And I always get a little nugget of information I can use.
Yeah, thanks for being here. That's what we're all aiming to do, right? To learn, listen, learn, and leverage. And Akeisha's story is so powerful. Akeisha, why don't you introduce the background and how you found your way into business coaching, first of all, because I think it's important to know where people come from and why you find your passion in that. And then we can maybe transition into, revisiting what it means to be a boss people want to work for.
Okay, cool. Thank you. There's so many different places I can start, but I'll start off. Years ago, I worked in higher education, and I worked in higher education because as an employee of the university that I worked at, 96% of the tuition was paid for. So that's how I was paying for my postgraduate studies after undergraduate. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to be 6 figures in debt, right? You financial people, I know you understand that. Okay, so I was working in higher ed, and the university that I worked at the time, I was working on the budgetary side. And again, I'm talking to the financial people out there. We all know if you follow how the money flows, you know what the commitments of an organization or a person really is. And at the time, what I would do when I was bored at work is go to the financials to kind of see what was going on the back end at the university. And I just kind of did that, geeking out. At the time, this was 2010, the Haitian earthquake had happened. The school I was at was making a pledge to make donations to Haiti. And I was very interested in Haiti because my background was I had danced in a traditional Afro-Haitian dance troupe. And I was always very interested in the history of Haiti. I thought it was really important for me as a person of African descent, especially, my ancestors being formerly enslaved. I thought it's really important for me to have some kind of connection to Haiti, knowing the importance of the history and really the importance of the history of Haiti on all of the Americas. Anyway, I, was at the university, decided, all this stuff wasn't happening, and I was running my big kind of activist mouth. And I had somebody say, well, you're so full of ideas. Why don't you do something with it? And I ended up formulating a nonprofit program called the Oshun Project, where we installed a solar generated water filtration system in a rural village in Haiti called Camp Pan in partnership with community leaders there. And in putting that together, I put together a marketing team, a fundraising team, identified engineers to partner with, connected with members of the Haitian American community, and just kind of built that plane in the air. And in doing that, I put myself in a management training program where I got a coach, and that's where I actually was able to experience the transformative power of having someone support you in that way. And that's really what I would give credit for, my ability to be able to deliver that project, because I had never done anything like that before. I'd never been an executive director before. What I had was a heart to serve and, some ideas, right, that I was acting on. A lot of things that I like to tell my clients is, follow the scent. A lot of times, we all know what it's like when you're home and mom or grandma's in the kitchen and they're cooking something delicious. That's why you spend all the time in the kitchen, right? Dipping your spoon into the pot because you smell something delicious, because there's something really tasty that you want to grab a hold there. Same thing with business and ideas. If you follow the scent, a lot of times that takes you where you want to go. And where it took me really was me understanding that I could take an idea and some things that I felt passionate about and turn it into something that would really impact communities outside of myself. So the water filtration system that we installed serves about 10 to 15, excuse me, serves about 10 to 15,000 people a year. Part of the program is water is sold, and then also 50% of the water is disseminated to schools and orphanages and whatnot in the area. So once I started doing that, I continued with my management training program where I became someone who coached other people on how to put together projects. And from that, I started getting more and more referrals. People were saying, well, will you work with my friend? And I have someone dealing with something at work and someone else wants to do this. And all of a sudden I had a client base. And at the time I was an amateur and I had read somewhere, if you're doing something for free and it's getting in the way of the job you're at, that's how you know it's time to charge. And that's pretty much what turned me pro.
That's awesome. I love your story. I love the fact that your heart led you and now you're leading with your heart, honestly, because you had a passion and a perspective. You wanted to do something that was meaningful for you and you pursued that. And then you saw a perspective of somebody that helped you collaborate and create your project from start to finish. And it impacted you in a way that you realized that your heart is bigger than you knew. And you were ready to step up and start helping other people do that. And that's how so many of us find our way into entrepreneurship, right? We go down the road of experience. We make a few wrong turns here and there, or, get stuck in traffic, but then we finally find our flow. And when you find an environment that's really, you're leading with your heart, like you said, if you're working for free and it's in the way of your job, it's time to transition. When you're in that environment where your heart is leading, I think that that's powerful, because so many of us start businesses for more than just a paycheck. We start it because we have a reason and a passion behind it. And that's why I love the topic that you're going to talk about today, which is creating an environment where people want to work for you, right? Because the only way that your passion can truly survive and not be stifled out is to make sure you're appropriately approaching not just your passion and what you want to do, but taking care of the people that are helping you build it.
Absolutely. When you talk about leading with your heart, I think about, Dr. Brene Brown and what she says, soft heart, strong back, right? It's kind of scary because it does mean that you're going to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable means that you're opening up yourself to criticism and judgment. Also, it's really easy to make a fool of yourself. I wish I could tell you how many times I've had to go back with a bunch of egg on my face and just say, you know what, I didn't get that right. I need to reset, or you know what, I need help. Actually, I think that's probably the hardest thing for most entrepreneurs to do, especially, and I think it's one of those things that is difficult for bosses to do, is say, I need help. But the thing is that your ability to say, hey, I actually need your contribution for me to deliver on this thing is what, really shows how strong you are. And it also really allows the other person the opportunity to step up into their leadership, and then everyone wins. So, that's one of the components to being the kind of person people want to work for, because most human beings want to contribute. Right? Like, yes, we live in this Western society where, it's very individualistic and whatnot, but, look at social media. We're also interested in other people. Seeing other people and how they live is such an affirmation of who we are and ourselves. And I think that people discount that, especially in the workplace, because there's this idea of competition. But I like to think of the author Ayn Rand. Her definition of competition are multiple producers in the same market. It's a different kind of idea, right? Not people clamoring on each other, but just multiple producers doing the best work within the same market. That's what real competition is. Because, you think, I know I'm this person. when I was in school, I would sit in the classroom and listen for who in the classroom do I think is the smartest person in the room? And I would go sit next to them. And I would, hey, do you have a pencil? Right, that's when, look, I'm aging myself. We used to be in classrooms with pencils and pens. So, right? So, yeah, hey, you have a pencil? And just start a conversation with that person. Hey, can I share notes? Or what do you think about this? Just because that person was an affirmation of, hey, they know things I can learn, maybe I can connect with them, and maybe I can contribute to them, they can contribute to me. And I've had amazing friendships come from that. Very similar to your approach with leading people. If people know not only where you're coming from, but where you want to take them as a leader and how they can contribute to that, people will love working with you.
I love it. It's hard enough to carry a dream on your own, right? So if we don't paint that picture, they don't know why they're working for you. And one of the polls that we just recently did was, what is your definition of community? And community overwhelmingly was colleagues and friends. So community is colleagues and friends. They're saying their workplace is where they're finding that they can embrace and learn and grow, just like you did, at school. And I'm kind of glad that you brought up the fact, jokingly, that schools used to have pencils and paper, because the world's evolving rapidly, right? And there's so many people that are on guard right now. So many people are on guard, especially as business owners, because we don't want to show, like you said, that we don't really understand how to adapt or how to have conversations or what we should do. And I kind of want to transition to that, because we talked about how do you take inventory of your community, right? Your workers that are working with you and for you for your dream. How do you take inventory of their needs and have that conversation in a meaningful way that's going to embrace what they want?
And I like how you preface that everyone's on guard. Like literally, we're having to guard our faces from one another right now, right? Like that's what we're doing to protect one another. We're having to guard ourselves, and I think that that's a way that people operate in the world, and it's right now just kind of manifesting as a physical version of kind of that concept. But in the workplace, knowing people's needs, honestly, as a leader, it's really up to you to start asking those questions. Here's the thing: who does not love to be interviewed and asked their thoughts and their opinions and their advice? I haven't met the person yet. No, I don't want to tell you what I think. And, I don't want to tell you how I think you could better approach that. I haven't met the person who thinks that. It's not true. People want to be able to talk. You give people the opportunity. And here's the thing that makes me effective as a coach. Before I even became a coach, I was the kind of person who would sit, at bus stops or whatnot. People would just start talking to me about very personal things. I think that I probably have some kind of energy space that says I'll listen, because then I would just sit there and listen. Okay, nice talking to you. I gotta get on the bus now. I hope you have a good day, or whatever, right? Same thing in the workplace. When people know that you will just listen, right? This is one of the things that I was taught as a distinction. Listening is an act of love. Someone who just listens to you is letting you know that you're worthy of being heard. That is so powerful, because if you can just hear what someone has to say and really just receive it, that does give you clues on how to treat, direct, and interact with somebody. So that's where I would start. It's really having those conversations where you go to people, hey, I'm working on this thing. What do you think about this? Right? Also honoring really that we as human beings are beings, right? The human part is our animal part, right? That's us as, things that got to eat and drink water and go to sleep. The being part is our spirit energy thing. And here, I'm gonna out myself, y'all. I'm from San Francisco, California. So I was like raised in the vortex of woo-woo, right? So I very much dabble and swim in the woo-woo pool. But the idea is, beings is about energy. And it's about spirit. And as a leader, when you walk into a space, you typically can feel the energy of an employee that, maybe the energy is down or there's some kind of tenseness in the space. As a leader, your job is to acknowledge that. Hey, what's going on? It seems like there's something that might be upsetting or whatnot. Are you willing to talk about that with me? Here's the thing, sometimes people aren't willing to talk about it with you, but the fact that you just give them space to be able to do that, let somebody know, hey, this is somebody who cares enough that I can actually share these things with them. And it just opens up the door for you to be able to really direct what's next in that relationship. And you can take that into all different kind of relationships, right? Your kids, your partners, your parents, your family, your community.
It's so powerful. I just appreciate everything that you just shared with us, and I love how you're so concise at it. Like, I would have tripped all over myself trying to explain that, but you're right. And I want to go back to the woo, the emotions thing, because we're all humans and we have emotions and we connect through energy and emotions. But one of the most frustrating emotions for me, and I don't know if it resonates with anybody else on this call, but it's confusion. Confusion drives me nuts because there's almost like no out. And if you're just asking people their thoughts on a problem, that's enough, because now they know that you're aware and you're having a conversation and dialogue, and it alleviates and gives some solace to that confusion and allows you to get back to focusing on what really matters, which is building your dreams. Yes, we don't have the solution yet, but knowing that somebody's listening and asking, so powerful.
If I may speak to what you're saying about confusion, if that's okay, Adam. Yeah. Here's the thing, I think people kind of misappropriate what confusion is. Confusion really is a signal that your brain is learning something new. That's what confusion is. It's, hey, I know this, and all of a sudden something else is coming in, and I don't know what to do with this. It's a signal that you are gaining new information. And one of the things that, when I'm talking with clients and people I work with about confusion, one of the things that will keep that confusion in place is resisting it and not allowing it to just, okay, right now, I don't really get it. Okay, I don't really get it right now. Here's the thing, and I'm sure, Adam, you'll confirm this. Once you relax, all of a sudden, it downloads, right? Whatever it is, you're like, oh, now I get what that means. Oh, now I know what there is to do. Oh, actually, yeah, now I get it. But the confusion is basically you looking to sort out something new and discover something. And especially as a business leader, if you can take people's confusion and not necessarily feel like you have to do something with it, but that you kind of give it the space that it needs, maybe give it some direction through your questions, that also allows the person to, have their own insights. And here's the thing, if you can be the kind of person that facilitates someone having their own insights, they absolutely want to spend as much time around with you as possible. That's another thing that cultivates you being the kind of leader where someone says, I love my boss, but I will follow my boss to this company or whatever, right? We've seen it before where companies are like, darn it, they took the whole staff, right? The kind of person who could take the whole staff is the kind of person who is serving the people who work with them so powerfully. Those people don't want to be without the service. Because here's another thing that people, I would say, confuse about leadership. When people think leadership, they think, oh, this person is going to, create and blaze the trail. When in truth, what a leader is really doing is so powerfully serving the people around them. People say, please have this person be in charge, because they actually know what to do with the collective of all these things that we're all responsible for.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And I would agree on the confusion point, I think you're right. Once you relax and step back, things are much more clear. It's very difficult to overcome something on your own, first of all, when you have a tunnel vision mindset, right? You've got your tasks, we all do. And if you're in the frustrations or the throes of life and you're trying to get through your daily tasks, you're not giving yourself that peace of mind that allows you to think through that, which is why I love when leaders actually ask questions and show that they're aware of a situation or aware that we're overcoming new things and they want to collaborate. When they collaborate and they do it well, just like you said, they're the boss people want to work for. They're the ones that get promoted, and the leadership team wants to move with them from company to company. And I think that that's important, especially today. I mean, we are going through so much back and forth on what's right, what's not, what should we do? And I kind of want to transition a little bit to that, if you don't mind. I want to touch on some of the current events. How does a business owner themselves, how do they approach, respect, and protect their community, right? The Delta variant is real. How do we approach having a conversation? I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong to that, but how do they start the conversation?
Honestly, and this is one of the foundational pieces when I'm working with leaders. You got to get clear about what you are about, what your stand is, what your foundation is. I think one of the things that throws people off is they, move a little too quickly, right? Without really having, their legs underneath them. They're trying to move. It's kind of like, when you see a little baby trying to run and all they do is trip, 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 right? Yeah, the reason why they're tripping is because they don't have their legs underneath them. They don't have that foundation and that balance of really knowing, okay, I feel steady in my body, so then I can be able to pick up this pace and move quickly. Same thing with really directing people through what feels like challenging, especially on uncertain periods. Because here's the truth of the matter, right? There is no such thing as certainty. The only thing that's certain is that things are going to change. That's really the only certainty we really, really have. And I think that, this pandemic, us being sheltered in place, what we're seeing economically, even, with the Delta variant and all that kind of stuff, it's just constant change. So what you want to have, what I would say as a coach is you want to be steady underneath you so that then from there you can deal with the uncertainty. Very much one of the big reasons why I created my Safe Star workshop was because I found that people had this very either or moralistic approach to being right and wrong, but no one ever wants to be wrong, right? So being right, there's a little bit of a hook in being right. But if you can be the kind of person who is willing to be responsible, right? And this is one of the conversations that I have when I'm talking about, okay, how do you have conversations around race and racism? How do you have conversations around things that feel like are difficult topics to talk about? What is it that you're willing to say, I will own this part of it? And as a business leader, and looking at, what's going on with COVID and the variants and wearing masks and whatnot, what I would ask is what is it that you say that you can really say, I will take responsibility for these outcomes of the choices that I'm making and the impacts of it? If you can take responsibility for it, that's a great place to go to. And that's a good thing to ask oneself before moving forward with your team and making choices that are going to direct things. What outcomes am I willing to take responsibility for? And when you can identify these are the outcomes I'm willing to take responsibility for, because these are some of the outcomes that can come out of this choice that I'm making, then you can go ahead and really get behind that choice. What I would say, one of the things that we're looking at right now, especially looking at COVID and whatnot, is there are a bunch of people who made choices that they did not take responsibility for. And now that it's coming back on them, they're backtracking and saying, well, it's not my fault. People have free will, they have free choice. Yeah, you as a leader were responsible for something that you didn't take responsibility for. And now the outcomes, really, they are on you. They are. So that's what I would say about that.
Now, I love the conversation because, again, getting back to the definition of community, so many of us find our community with the people that we're just connected with most often. And that's every Thursday for me with you guys. And during the week, it's colleagues and clients, right? And it's our community members that work alongside us and our friends. So I think it's important that if you find yourself in a leadership role, that you understand how to approach first having dialogue and having conversation, but knowing what that's going to lead to is very important. And I love that you brought that up, Akeisha. One of the things we like to do in this meetup is kind of open it up to the community members for comments and kudos. So I'd love to open that up. Jonathan is first, raising his hand. Jonathan.
Hi. So I don't know if you've seen it, but like every minute we've just got everyone on the screen is like nodding their head and just going along with what you've said. I knew I was in for something special today, but I have to say, I feel like you've given me so much grace to approach some of these situations with. I don't manage anyone, but even in how my relationships with my managers and being able to sit there and think, okay, objectively, what's going to help me right now? What's going to help me out of this confusion? Right. And this whole thing that you stated about how listening is an act of love. I've been taking notes. I've been taking notes on this, and I'm sending some of these off to be embroidered so I can hang on my wall. But I have to say, like, there's something so miraculous about listening to you speak about these real big, for me at least, like my job, especially during the pandemic, has been the thing that I've been able to really cling to, because it's providing me with my community and it's providing me with stability and being able to think about all the different ways that I can start to navigate situations that I'm presented with in a way that is so much more open to, I'm not dumb because I don't understand something. I'm confused because I'm getting new information that I thought I already had a grasp on. And just having that paradigm shift alone, I feel like I'm going to be able to be a better employee moving forward, because I will sit here and say, okay, this person is not listening to me, or they're not providing me with direction that I'm asking for. How do I go about getting that? And I'm going to be able to, I just feel like I have so many more tools about trying to wrap my head around how other people operate, especially in a business setting. And one of the other things you said that I really, really love is coming off of listening as an act of love is I have a big problem with being micromanaged. And that is of all of my jobs, working as, as a server or working as an employee at Starbucks, I've always had a really hard time when someone micromanages me, because it makes me feel like I've done something really, really wrong. Or I feel like I'm a cog in the wheel and I don't have any actual say in this or any actual agency. And the way that you approach these discussions, the way that you spoke to how listening is an act of love, and the way that I wrote it all down, the way that these managers would work is that I would be able to maintain my own autonomy and my own agency as an employee, and be able to figure things out on my own. But to have a manager or have someone, whether you own a huge company and you're managing a ton of people, or a little small business of 2 or 3 employees, having someone to give me direction, but to allow me the space to figure things out on my own, and to your own saying, to get my feet underneath me, is how I'm going to get better as an employee. And that's how I'm going to go and look at my manager and say, you didn't force me through this. You said, my hand is here if you need it, but I'm going to let you walk this on your own, is absolutely staggering to me. And I think this was, I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I'm so grateful that you have this ability to communicate in a way that is so, I'm sure your clients have told you many times, and I feel like I understand why people talk to you at a bus stop, but you have this ability to communicate that is so, the only word I can come up with is it's grace. I feel like you have so much grace in the way that you address issues and confusion. And I absolutely am. There are a few times where I find myself at a loss for words and I've said a lot, but I really do. I think you are miraculous, and that the work that you do is is brilliant, is brilliant.
Thank you. Look, I'm humbled. Thank you.
That was so much awesome right there. Just watching Jonathan's mind explode in the way he just
so many times.
all,
So my brain is on the floor next to me. This has been a marvelous.
yeah, already just putting himself out there in the future and how he's going to approach things. So we've got Julie with her hand raised, and then Rachel.
Hi, Akeisha. I'm everything you said. I'm a big Brené Brown fan myself in the concept of vulnerability, and love everything that you've been saying. It totally resonates with me and continues to inspire. And I've definitely read a lot of her work. I think Daring to Be Great, things like that. So I have a question about and wanting to connect about how or tools to approach kind of being uncomfortable or unknowing in situations, specifically around topics of race and racism as a leader. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about your thoughts of how to approach being uncomfortable, or what would be a way to connect. Or so I want to get outside of my community and continue to expand and meet more people and be more diverse and bring more different perspectives into my own company. But I also feel a little vulnerable in doing that. So I'm just, if any kind of thoughts or ideas about how one would do that.
Okay, let me make sure that I understand your question, and thank you for your comments, and thank you, Jonathan, again. What I hear your question is that you're wondering, how do you implement more diversity into your company while feeling vulnerable about being the person who's going to do it?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for, again, Adam's point about getting succinct to what I was trying to say. Exactly.
Here, I'm going to say this to y'all. We all thought it was cute when Beyonce said, I woke up like this, but I can tell you, I didn't wake up like this. This is training, right?
Yeah.
Right? Here's the thing. Yeah, it's funny, a friend of mine was like, no, you have to acknowledge how awesome you are. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll own that I'm awesome, but this is training, right? A lot of people, I was thinking of this earlier because I was like, maybe I'll write about this. But a lot of people get really weird about, like, I'm supposed to just naturally be awesome and all like woke and enlightened. And it's like, you can't be woke if you weren't asleep at some point. Come on now. You have to give yourself the space to develop, right? Like, sure, I mean, I get, even when you think about like the story of Jesus, from the time he was a little boy till he was in his 30s, you didn't see him through his teens and 20s, probably because he was a full-blown idiot. Yes, even Jesus. Right? So give yourself some time to develop into your greatness, right? Okay, so what your question is, here's the thing, and this is why I call my workshop, right? Safe Star is the acronym, and that's a trademark thing, but it's an acronym for safe space to talk about race. It's not comfortable.
Right.
The difference between safety and comfortable, right? The difference is you're pretty safe on an airplane. You're not comfortable, not unless you're in first class, right? So, you're just gonna have to deal with the discomfort to get to where you wanna go. Does that communicate what I'm saying, Julie? And I get what your commitment is. One of the things that I would definitely say is out yourself. I feel very vulnerable. I'm really afraid to do this, but I want to do it. One of the things that happens when you front load like that is signals to your reptilian brain, right? You can calm down because the executive brain is coming in and I can control it. It's your executive brain that's able to articulate that you're scared. Your reptilian brain is just over there saying, let me get you out of the situation that you feel so afraid of. Your executive brain is the one that says, actually, fear is, right, if we know the acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real. Fear is not the same as danger. Danger is a person with a gun. Fear is something going on in your mind. So when you can say, hey, this is something I'm afraid to do, then it helps at least calm your nervous system, which is activated, down a bit. That's one. Here's the second thing, and I'm gonna put this out there. It is scary to be the one, right? I love movies. Again, I'm gonna date myself. One of my favorite movies is The Matrix. I know that's one of the movies everyone has been watching during the pandemic, but remember, Neo was the one. Think about how much he resisted being the one. Think about what it took for him to discover that he was the one. One, he had a bunch of people to team up around him to support him in being the one. So I would say, Julie, identify people who would be on your team. There are other people who want this, who are afraid like you are. Those people who you vibe with, go talk to them. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. This is what I'd like to do. What do you think about this? I'm really afraid, this and that and the other. This is how you are going to enroll and enlist your people to help you actually execute this thing. You don't have to do it by yourself. Actually, you're not going to successfully do it by yourself. It's not going to happen, right? It's like the African proverb, alone you can go far. I'm sorry, alone you can go fast, together you can go far, right? So enlist people around you to support you, and then you'll have people around you to support you as you would emerge as the one who's going to implement these things. That's what I would say to that.
Great, thank you. You've already started getting me thinking about the course of action I'm going to take and who I'm going to connect with about how to do just what you said.
Good. And also, I would say this too, when you're implementing is ask that question, what am I willing to take responsibility for?
Yeah.
Are you willing to take responsibility that some people are going to get really angry? Can you? Right? Yeah. Are you willing to take responsibility that it might require extra time on your part? Are you willing to take responsibility that it means you're going to have to reach out to communities that you may not be familiar, whatever, yep. Right? But look at that as you construct it, and then look, okay, this is what I can say I can own. And then if you can identify, these are the things that I say that I can own, it gives you a really nice, strong foundation, especially when people, because guess what? In this diversity, I wish I could tell you the things that people have said.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? Yeah. Or, okay, actually some of the stuff, some people don't think it's funny. I find it funny, but do that and it gives you a nice foundation.
So I've been thinking as I've been listening to you that you need to run for some office because we need people like you, clear, articulate, and definitely know who you are. So that's one thing. But I wanted to piggyback on what Adam said about confusion, because I think for me personally, like I get all up in my head sometimes about like decisions I need to make. And I'm confused about like, what should I do? And I had one this week that was a personal thing. And I kept thinking about it. And then finally, like I just talked to my husband about it. And it's like, we made a decision together. And then it was like, once I had the decision made, I felt so much better, right? And I find in your point about reaching out and talking to other people, I think that's so important. And many of us, and I can speak for myself, don't do that sometimes because of potentially showing the vulnerability, right? Of like, oh my God, what is somebody going to think of me? Or are they going to judge me on that? And I found that typically, even if I worry about that judgment is not there, that I perceived in my head. So I just wanted to thank you for that, because I think that is so important in everything that we do, especially when you're with coworkers or with a manager or with your networking in business, right? Where it's like those honest, I always say tactful conversations are really important to talk about what you're thinking and then work through it and then get past it, right? If it's some kind of issue. So thanks.
Absolutely.
And run for office. You live in my city.
You're not the first person to say that, right? And I'm like, all right,
Yeah, I know that's a whole nother, that's another world.
Parentheses around that, put it to the side for right now. But this this is what you just said, and thank you for your commentary, Rachel. I appreciate it. What you said just kicked off this thought in my mind. I don't know if anyone out here is familiar with A Course in Miracles, right? But A Course in Miracles is, A Course in Miracles is basically what got us Marianne Williamson, right? And she was a big candidate on the presidential stage just a few years ago. And one of my favorite lines in there, and I always keep it in mind, is this: once you allow yourself to be vulnerable is when you discover that you're invulnerable. And really, no one really can hurt you. Not really, especially when you're really showing up with what's real and authentic with you. Anyone who would even attack your authenticity, they discredit themselves. Just look at Simone Biles. Just look at her example, right? Simone Biles was vulnerable enough to say, I mean, literally, Simone Biles, the whole Olympics for the United States was wrapped up all around her and her performance because of what she can do, right? Can you even imagine what that's like? And imagine what it was like for her to step into those Olympics, literally knowing the judges are looking to not credit her for what it is that she can do, right? Because they're trying to level the playing field because she so outperforms these people. And then all this, immense pressure, all these different things going on around, also, these athletes went into Tokyo with large protests. They're not telling you that, but the people in Japan are like, what are you doing having the Olympics here? COVID is rampant. What are you guys doing? She stepped into that. And then from there, she was vulnerable enough to say, this is a woman who has created 5 moves in gymnastics that no one else can do but her, right? It was a vulnerability for her to say, you know what, mentally, I can't do it. That's vulnerability, right? But look at what happened. The people who attacked her, basically people were saying, you can't even flip your legs over your head, shut your mouth. But the rest of the world, what did they do? They rallied around her because you could see how strong she was because she allowed us to see her vulnerability, right? So I just wanted to add that little part.
And then we found out that her aunt had died as well.
Right, because, Simone Biles
we didn't know that, yeah.
Right, no, she's not supposed to be a human being who has real human experiences. What she is a cog who's supposed to operate for the United States and make sure that this nation feels really proud about, the ability of our athletes, even though her, as a real human being, we're not supposed to take care of her. So, okay, look, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Hey, the mental game is acrobatics enough. I think that proves just how strong she is. So, and I love the piece about vulnerability leads to invulnerability. That was, wow. Michelle.
I was so wrapped up in the conversation, I forgot I raised my hand. So forgive me, because this conversation can go on forever. Everybody has stoked so much in me, and I don't want to get woo-woo, but I just might. I really enjoy being a part of this group and program because this is the conversation that I needed. Being restructured out of a day job after 19 years, and then being on COVID, you have been on lockdown, and I'm okay with that. I'm spreading my business a little bit. I'm an only child, so, I don't care about being by myself. So you tell me not to go to the store, I'm not going. I don't have to go outside. I don't have to see you. Mother, is it anybody? I'm not trying to catch it to have to deal with it anyway. So, but this group has changed that because I have that community I can still be a part of on that business side, so I enjoy the conversation. So I wrote notes so I can keep it brief because you give me a stage and a mic, I'm all over it. Adam already talked about the hair, so I was ready. But anyway, the diversity part, I love Julie for opening up and asking the question and, being vulnerable enough to want to do something about it and speaking that space on this recorded forum. So, I was going to say that. But one of the things I always tell people is that I think part of the problem I look at is the color thing. In every other country, you're known as that. If you're in Sweden, you're a Swede. If you're in South Africa, you're South African. If you're from wherever, but here we have to be a color. So I tell people I'm not Black. I'm a melanated human being. That's all I want to be. Because I'm a human being with every other human being because Akeisha talked about beings. And that's what brought that to mind. So, if we eliminate that part of it, it might be helpful because that plays over and over in our minds. When you fill out a form, I have to write down what color I am. Why can't I just write I'm a US citizen? That's what I am. So I'm going to get off that soapbox. The next one is, she mentioned something about develop. And I talked about that. You do, and I have a YouTube channel. I talk about year of action this year. And each week is about an action verb. And one of those weeks I talk about develop. You have to develop your mindset, your skill set, your everything. And that's a continuous learning. It is a continuous learning. And helping me is given. And when people say they want to help or you want to help me, and this could be anybody, it has nothing to do with color, then give me the opportunity. I was in a group called IAAP, it's the International Associations of Administrative Professionals. And two of the members, I remember one lady was out of work and this lady got her job where she worked. And then at some point in time, the same lady was out of work in that place. So she went back to the lady who got her a job. And she said, no, what I need for you to do is what I did for you. Take my resume and put it in front of somebody, not just send it in and submit it. And that's the opportunity that you would want to have for somebody to do for you, because I can cold call all I want. I may not get anybody to respond, but you may be able to say, hey, you know what? This lady is a great speaker on personal finance, blah, blah, blah. Let's give her a try. That's giving somebody a chance and an opportunity. And lastly, I want to say, I love Jonathan, because I thought he was going to fall out that chair at one point. Whatever Akeisha said, he left the screen, so he was on the floor. And I said, that's my kind of person. See, that's my kind of brother that I can hang out with, because we have that same, reaction. And I feel like Akeisha and Rachel, I don't know everybody fully yet, but we're kindred sisters. I felt that from day one, like with Rachel, just certain things that she says. And I thought she was originally from New York, certain tones that she said. And Akeisha, I felt like she was in my brain. Like she's the person that was talking things that I talk about. People will talk to me, strangers talk to me at workplaces. I'm always, giving people advice and, and helping them. So now what I'm doing is taking the time to help Michelle. And one of those ways is to be here and learn from you great people today. So, thank you. And I see the two other speakers that have been on here and they were just as great. And I love it. So thank you and thank you and thank you.
Wonderful. I thank you for your commentary. I wanted to say one thing. I don't know if any of us have read the book Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, but she does distinguish that the United States is a very special place where, just to speak to what you were saying about color, is that that's where people from Sweden, right, they come to the United States, they become white. Right? People, to really, in South Africa, people aren't even South African. They're Xhosa, they're Zulu, right? They're Afrikaans, right? Like it's really distinct around ethnicity. And then the United States, because of the social structure, puts us in a color social structure, which is really about an economic class system, but that's how we're organized. So, what you're saying, absolutely. And the thing is that right now what we're finding, I think because of globalism, is that color social structure is really being disrupted. And we've been so used to it, we just actually don't know what to do anymore. People are like, well, can I call you Black or African American? And I don't, oh God, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? And the thing is that if you don't know what to do, ask.
Just like Julie did, she asked.
Awesome. All right, I know we're at time.
I feel like we could go forever on this. And I've got to praise you, Akeisha. We had a conversation that was supposed to be difficult, right? Having conversations about approaching things and asking difficult questions and being the boss people want to work for. And it's been nothing but laughs and smiles. And the way that you approach just your conversation here today is so impactful. One of the things that we have at CLARAfi is that we believe that communication is necessary, but only when it's clear communication. So you have to have perspective and awareness. And I love that that's what you gave us today, because we're all part of a community and our definition of community might be a little different based on where we're at the time. But I love the conversation. I love your tips. I love the way that you just are so succinct, and you can tell that you know exactly what your art is. The art of listening, you're loving on people, and I just love that. So thank you for being part of our community and being here today and just enlightening and enabling all of us to be better bosses.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great being with all of you today.
Yeah, one thing I love to do before we let you go is, where can we point people to connect with you and to follow up? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. You know what? Right now, probably the best way to reach me is directly through LinkedIn. I'm updating my website continually, but for anyone, you can find me at www.aninspiredstory.com. You can, drop something in the contact list and I will be able to get back to you that way. And, if anyone wants to connect with me via LinkedIn, drop me a line. I absolutely love connecting with people and speaking with people. So those are great ways to find me.
Awesome. We are so privileged. Thank you for being here today and just being part of the conversation and everything you've done. And to the community members here, we appreciate you. Thank you all for committing and supporting.
Pleasure. Happy to be here.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for this.
All right. Thank you. So great. All right.